Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Special head-to-head Q&A for the finals. We finally stumbled across head-to-head finals. It feels like only like 2 weeks ago that we were like struggling to get through the bye round. So we finally made it. We've got to the head-to-head finals and there are a lot of things to go over. A few questions. A few people sent in some questions, which was good. I'm going to go over who I think has the best draw during the head-to-head finals. I'm going to go over some pod players through those sides. I'm going to go over who I think the best Herbie downgrade is. I'm going to go over a lot of things. A few pod players. There's a lot to go over. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with going over the 4 best sides that I think people should be targeting for their head-to-head finals. And I'm just going to go over some of the players in these sides that if you have the luxury of having, 5, 6, 7, 8 trades up your sleeve, you could rotate through these players based on matchup. And I think, in my opinion, you could benefit a lot from that, especially if you're looking for a point of difference in your head-to-head sides. Now, my first team that I think people should be targeting is the Cronulla Sharks. Now, I know that they've still got a bye, but at this point in time, I feel like if you don't already have depth to cover, 1 or 2 players in your side, I don't know what you've been doing, but you should definitely have cover to cover a player on the bye at this point in time. So let's go over the Sharks. Now, I feel like there are actually quite a few players in the Sharks side that people could target for their head-to-head finals. Now, I'm going to just assume that most people who are still playing have Nico in their side. Nico is obviously a clear out-and-out choice if you don't already have him. But in my opinion, I don't know if he's really a pod difference because I think most of you will already have him in your head-to-head matchup. So I think that there are a couple of people, a couple of players that I believe are actually worthy of a shout. Now, I think Britton Nikora is definitely worthy of a shout. I think he, unfortunately, had that HIA for 4 points, then he missed the following week, and then after that he's come back in and he's played in monsoon conditions. Now, he hasn't really had a very, very good chance to kind of hit the ground running, and I think now with a softer draw and hopefully no more HIAs, I think Nikora is definitely someone that people should be genuinely looking at. He has a great matchup this week against the Dragons. I'm really, really keen to play Nikora this week in my side. So Nikora's one. Mulatalo. Now, for me, Mulatalo's one that I'm unfortunately going to miss. But if I had the trades, I would be definitely getting in Mulatalo. A lot of people are still staying away from Mulatalo, which could be a chance for you to grab him. I think he's going to be scoring quite well over the next few weeks. Like if you have a look at the Sharks draw, they've got the Dragons this week, which I really, really like. Then they've got the Titans at home. Then they go into the Knights at home as well. But you've got that round 25 bye, which is a little bit sticky. So make sure you've got some cover there. I really, really like Ronnie and Nikora for the run home. Another one that I was actually looking at as for a little bit of a pod is actually Teague Wilton. Now, there's almost nobody is talking about Teague Wilton. Now, if the Sharks don't try to target Nikora on that edge, Teague Wilton is safe. Like, he obviously scored 36 on the weekend, but I feel like with these matchups coming up, the Dragons, Titans, and Knights, they can be leaky on their edges, and Wilton doesn't mind a try. So, well, he doesn't mind a try. Like, it comes and goes. It's few and far in between. But I feel like with these soft matchups, Wilton can be a sneaky little pod play. I do have him lower on the tier. I've obviously got Nikoro and Mulatalo a little bit higher up, but he's someone that I could be that you could be looking at. I'm going to name one more player in the Sharks. I think my fourth player that I would be targeting is actually Jesse Ramian. Now, Ramian is someone who only 2.1% owned. Over the last 3 weeks, he's gone 69, 59, 56. I'm very confident that Ramian can score almost 60 plus for the next 3 games. So he's someone at 484k. He's someone that you could genuinely be looking at, and a great matchup this week. Righto, moving on. My next side that I feel like people should be targeting is actually the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys have a pretty decent run home. Now, there was a question around convincing someone to keep Drinkwater, and I'm going to go over why Cowboys players should be targeted and why you should definitely be keeping Drinkwater. Now, Parramatta this week at CommBank, obviously Parramatta are a lot better with Moses back in the side, but let's be honest, Parramatta will definitely still leak points. Now, Drinkwater hopefully gets goal kicking back. I know Labat took some goal kicking off him on the weekend. I don't know if it was because of a niggle or if it was because of the rain and like they were just being a little bit conservative with Drinky. I don't know. But I would highly suggest holding Drinkwater, especially for the Parramatta game, especially for the Tigers game. The Knights will be a little bit more difficult because they're good defensively, but Drinky can still score well regardless. And outside of the main fullbacks, outside of, like your Tedesco, your Edwards, Walsh, Turbo, these type of guys, I think that Drinkwater's it's a luxury trade. I would not be trading Drinkwater out. My pods for the Cows, who I believe people should be targeting, I would be very much looking at Braden Burns. I think Burns is actually a great shout, especially at 550k. Almost nobody owns him at 0.2%. I would be definitely looking at Braden Burns. A great player, very well. His SUPERCOACH stocks go up when he's in the center. 60 and 69 in the last 2 weeks. Very, very keen on Braden Burns if you've got the trades. I also don't mind people going back to Purdue. Now, Purdue's back into the centers. Obviously, with the halve situation, Purdue goes back, and at 400k, I'm actually kind of tempted myself to do it. The only way that I would do it is if I just go Karapani down to Jackson Purdue. But I really like the Purdue shout, especially at 400k. Tommy Dearden. Look, I think the time to grab Dearden was a few weeks ago. I certainly probably wouldn't be paying 700k for Dearden. But there is a very, very good chance that he scores quite well this week against Parramatta. If you really, really want a pod play, say if your opponent's got JC, Munster, and you want to kind of go against it, I don't mind the Dearden shout, but he's not someone that I would be personally paying upwards of 700k for. My next side that I would be targeting is actually, believe it or not, even though they're injuries, is Souths. Now, Souths have a very good draw for their standards. At the end of the day, a draw is a draw. And when it comes down to great matchups, the Souths have some great matchups. So they've got Parramatta. They've got... sorry. What am I doing? They've got... where is it? They've got the Titans, they've got Parramatta, they've got the Dragons, then they have a bye, then they go into the Roosters. Now, for me, there are a few players that I believe you could be targeting for this run. Tallis Duncan, definitely a shout at 650k. If you've got the trades to burn and you're looking at maybe trying to get off players like Jerome Hughes, or you've just traded in Yo and now he's missing and you've got the cash, I don't mind potentially going to Duncan. I don't mind that. Also, my second one is actually Ewan Aiken. I really, really like Aiken for the run home. I think with the you take away that rain-affected game, not the rain-affected game. If you take away the last 2 or 3 weeks where he's been out, his scores have actually been really, really well. 48 against the Panthers, but then he scored on the edge. He scored a 67, 76, 73, 119, 109. Like at 500k. I'm sorry. What am I doing? I'm reading the wrong. Where am I? Sorry, guys. I accidentally read the wrong script, the wrong numbers. Now, if you take away the rain-affected game for Aiken against the not against the Broncos. Jesus Christ, I've just confused myself. Sorry, guys. If you take away that game against the Broncos, on the edge he scored a 63, a 65, and then a 55. Now, he's got the Titans, he's got Parramatta, he's got the Dragons. At 500k, I think Ewan Aiken is a great shout. I think at worst, he'll get you 50 points. At worst. So, very, very good shout there. Again, this all comes down to whether or not you guys have a plethora of trades. Like, I wouldn't be suggesting to get these guys in if you've got 1, 2, 3 trades left. My next guy for the Bunnies, where was it? If you need someone who's obviously like a little bit of a flyer, I'm not quite sure how far Latrell is off. I know he's in the extended, but Jai Gray at fullback this week, I really, really like. I think he could, I think he will score quite well this weekend. And if Latrell does come back next week, he's got Parramatta. If he doesn't, he's got Parramatta, so he's another really, really good play. But again, it's all based on trades and whether you want to trade in, trade out type of thing. I don't mind Jai Gray this week as well. My next side that I believe is a good side to target is actually the Raiders. Now, the Raiders still have a bye still to come. Now, with the Raiders draw, obviously Hudson Young is going to be someone that a lot of people probably already have. I mean, look, he's owned by 42,000 people. But if you haven't already got him, 650k is a great price to grab. Very, very enticing for people who don't have him. I don't mind a Jamal Fogarty trade as well, especially if you've got the trades to burn at halfback. There is a world where you could fade. Look, to be honest, I wouldn't personally, but I can understand if you want to with the Panthers draw. The Panthers draw does get quite tough. I wouldn't do it, but Fogarty could be a sneaky pod play. Matty Timoko, 111 points recently. He seems to be going on a little bit of a run. 666k. Look, he could go pretty well, but it's one of those things with the Raiders outside backs. They're either really hot or they're really low. There's no kind of like consistency with these guys. I don't know. Like, paying upwards of 660k for Matty Timoko I know break even doesn't mean much at the moment, but there are a lot of like low scores in Timoko. Like, yep, he's been on a roll the last 2 weeks. He scored back-to-back doubles, but then you take out that he's got a 53, then he's got a 51, a 41, 49, 32, 21, 50, 31, 37. Like, just be mindful that Timoko can definitely score well, but he can definitely let you down as well. So I would be doing that as a risk-reward play. With Manly this week at home, Manly leak a lot of points, so I don't mind it. But yeah, just be mindful. Outside of that, not much is really standing out for me. Yeah, like I think Hudson, Timoko, you could maybe get around a KO weeks, but really who are you going to give up at 5'8" and fullback to get weeks in? I don't think there's really many there. But Raiders are a side that you could potentially target for your head-to-head matchups this week. Yeah, that'll just about do the 4 sides that I believe people should be targeting. Now, let's get into one of the questions, right? So if Herbie is your flex, who are some good options for the run home? Now, if you have Herbie and he's in your flex, let's have a look. Now, I think that if you've got Herbie at your flex, it's hard because a lot of these high upside, highly owned players are obviously already owned. I said that twice, but obviously they're already owned. But if you haven't got Herbie, if you've got Herbie in your flex, I feel like there's obviously like the main players that people might not already have, like your Lomaxes, like your Carrazas. I don't mind Turbo now at fullback. I think with Manly's draw, it's tempting. I've been burnt by Turbo twice this season, but if you haven't already been burnt by Turbo and you're ready to be hurt, I don't mind Herbie to Turbo at flex, but please proceed with caution. Yeah. Another one, obviously, Dane Gagai down at flex. He's someone that could be worthy of like maybe like a 70 plus week in, week out. He's safe. And you do want some safety down at flex as well. So he's someone that I could be looking at. You could be looking at. Look, I'll tell you what, another one. If you have cover this week, I would be highly suggesting that you wait and see if Latrell is back next week. If Latrell is back next week with the South draw, you could definitely go a Herbie to Latrell as a super pod play. I really, really like that shout. I think that Latrell back, he'll be stinging to play some footy. Para, Dragons and Roosters, they got that 26 bye though. I don't mind that at all. Like Parramatta and Dragons for South for Latrell, very, very good option if you are happy to wait. Outside of that, I don't mind the RTS shout. I think that RTS with the Warriors draw is quite good. I should have went over the Warriors before. Actually, I'll go over the Warriors. Actually, let's have a look. So the Warriors draw is actually one of the other great draws outside of this week against the Bulldogs. You've got the Dragons, Titans, Parramatta, Manly for the run home. I really like the Warriors draw. I really like Roger. I think Rogers runs, like lately, he's been getting 30 to 40 metres just in runs. And with that draw, I think he can jag a trial too for the run home. And he's going to be a great pod. I think there's obviously other better options that you can get in at flex, but RTS is obviously like a pretty decent play. So we'll just quickly go over the Warriors actually, because there's a couple of little pods that I want to point out for people if they're interested. Jackson Ford is actually a very, very good pod. Also Halasima, if you haven't already got him, he seems to just be scoring tries for fun. So Halasima, Jackson Ford, and Roger. I think those 3 players there are very, very good targets. If you're risky and you want to go DWZ, just be very mindful. He will either get you it's rocks or diamonds with DWZ. Just to really highlight that. But yeah, let's get back to the flex position question for Herbie. yeah, I think if you haven't got the Herbie, like you've obviously got your Lomaxes, your Carraz, your Turbos, your Gagais, your RTSs, Latrell, if he's back next week, if you want to hold. So there's some pretty decent pod players there if you haven't already got those players. Even a Jaden Campbell down at flex. Just be mindful though, like Kinney might be due back next week, and we don't know exactly how the Titans are going to look with Kinney back. So that's also a risk there. Look, to be honest with you, I actually don't mind just slotting in Payne Haas. Just go Herbie to Haas at flex. It's safe. You know what Haas is going to get. You've only got that little bit of a concern around the injuries, but other than that, I don't mind that play. Righto. Next question. I have Drinky, Teddy, and Walsh. Who should I trade out to bring in Edwards? I think the Edwards train has been missed if you haven't already got him. Panthers draw isn't exactly amazing, but if I had to choose between Drinky, Teddy, and Walsh, it would be Walsh. Walsh is way too attack reliant, and I think he would be... Drinky, Teddy, and Edwards would be ideal for the run home. Best 2RF to replace Yo. I think the best 2RF to replace Yo would be Hudson. Even though Hudson's got a bye, I think Hudson is your best replacement for Yo. I ideally would not be moving Yo on, as he's just going to be back next week, and the Panthers have a great, toughish run home, and I think Yo is going to be in the mix of that with very high base. I would be very reluctant trading Yo, but if you really had to, if you were like, I have to do it, it would be Hudson. Yeah. It would definitely be Hudson. You could go an Angus. You could even go like a Paddy Carrigan. Actually, Bo Firma. If you really wanted to go a cover for this week, a Yo to Bo Firma this week is actually really good. I love Firma's matchup this week against South. So that would be one for me. Yeah. And that will just about do it. All right, guys. So that's my little thought around head-to-head and some pod players. I hope you all enjoyed it. You know, I don't normally do Q&A podcasts, but I feel like with the head-to-head matchups coming up, a lot of people might be interested in tuning in for this one. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you thought. And yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe, give it a like. It helps the channel. And yeah, good luck again this week for your head-to-head matchups. See you guys.